This video is going to work through a few examples where trigonometry can let us deal with slightly more complex triangles. So if you notice in this example, we're not starting with a right triangle. Rather, we have some triangle with an altitude drawn so that there are two right triangles that make it up. We have a right triangle on the left with the 25-degree angle at the top, and a right triangle on the right as well. And our goal in this problem is simply to find x at the bottom. It's not completely clear in the diagram, but it's implied that x isn't the entire bottom side. Rather, x is just the right-hand side of the base. So that's our goal. We want to find x, and I think we'll be able to do this in 2 steps. Now, we can't do it directly, at least in 1 step. What we're going to have to do first is use trigonometry to find the altitude of the triangle. And I'm going to call this y. So if you look at the right triangle on the left with the 25-degree angle, y is the adjacent side and 41 is the hypotenuse, which means we can use cosine. So we'll have the cosine of 25 degrees equals y over 41. And we need to solve this equation. So cosine 25 is y over 41. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to switch over to my calculator app, and some of the pen will be in the way momentarily. But anyway, we'll just solve this equation. So we want to solve cosine of 25 equals y over 41 for y. And since we're using decimals, I'll press Control Enter, and we see that y is 37.2. So let's write that down. Y is 37.2. Now that I know the value of y, it's 37.2, we'll move to the triangle on the right to solve for x. So we'll look at the 54-degree angle. X is the opposite side, y is the adjacent side, so we'll use the tangent ratio. So we'll say the tangent of 54 degrees is x over y, but remember we know what y is. It's 37.2. And we'll solve this equation in the calculator. So tan 54 is x over 37.2. So solve this. Tangent of 54 is x over 37.2. We want to solve that for x. Press Control Enter, and you're done. And we get that x is 51.2. And that'd be the answer to this question because that's all it asks us for. X is 51.2. And this is going to be our basic strategy on the next 2 examples as well. We're just going to use trigonometry in different parts of a triangle that's been divided into right triangles to answer whatever question is being asked. So let's erase this work and go to the next example. So here the instructions have changed a little bit. We want to find the area of this triangle. In order to find the area of a triangle, I need the base and the height. So here I have part of the base. This little part on the right is 12. So one thing that we'll have to find is the part of the base on the left. I'll call that x. And we'll also have to find the height, which is the altitude. So we'll find y again. Call this y. All right, so just like the last problem, we'll have to solve for y, we'll have to solve for x, and then we have this additional step of finding the area of the triangle. Now, to prevent the video from being too long, I'm going to not do the calculations in the calculator. We'll just imagine that we know what the numbers are. So, let's see. We want to find y, and we have this 22-degree angle. Now, I'll give you a little warning about my computer program. When you have really small angles, sometimes the label or the number gets pushed out of the way. So 22 degrees is not this angle at the bottom right. Rather, 22 is a small angle. 22 is the number up there. So if 22 is the angle at the top, then 12 is the opposite side, y is the adjacent side, so we'll use tangent to solve for y. So the tangent of 22 degrees is 12 over y. So solve this equation in the calculator and you'll get y equals some number. Now, after you do that, we'll want to solve for x. So we'll look at the 28-degree angle. Y is the opposite side here, and x is the adjacent side. So we can use tangent again. The tangent of 28 degrees is y over x. But realize, at this point, you don't write the letter y. We know what y is. Y is some number. I'm just not doing this in the calculator in the interest of time. So you'll solve this equation in the calculator, and you'll get x equals some number. And now you're done. The question asks you to find the area of the triangle. Well, the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Well, the base here is x plus 12. The height is y divided by 2. So base times height divided by 2. In your calculator, though, you'll have a number for x and a number for y because that's what we've done previously in the question. All right, we'll do one more example. So I'll clear this work off. So this is almost the same. I think there's one additional step. You'll find that a lot of these questions do the same thing over and over again. So it's not that they're difficult, but you do have a little bit of bookkeeping, some things to write down. So we're going to have to find x, that's part of the base. We're going to have to find y, that's the other part of the base. And we're also going to have to find whoops, I'm not going to start the video over, this took too long. And we're also going to have to find z, the height of the triangle. So once we find x, y, and z, the area is again base times height divided by 2. Now, let's think about where we're going to have to start. Well, we know only one number. We know the hypotenuse of the right triangle on the left, and we know this 46-degree angle. So it looks like we'll be able to find both x and z using this triangle on the left-hand side. So let's find x first. From the 46-degree angle, x is the adjacent side, and 26 is the hypotenuse. So we'll use cosine. The cosine of 46 degrees is x over 26. Solve that equation and you'll have x equals some number. And now to find z, notice to find z you could use the Pythagorean theorem if you wanted. You know the hypotenuse, you found x, so you can use Pythagoras to find z. I think you'll find using trigonometry is just as fast as using Pythagoras, so you might as well use it. From the 46-degree angle, z is the opposite side, 26 is the hypotenuse. So the sine of 46 is z over 26. Solve this equation, you'll have z equals some number. And now you can solve for y. We move to the other triangle. We have a 64-degree angle. Z is the opposite. Y is the adjacent. So we use tangent. The tangent of 64 is z over y. Again, at this point you'll have a number for z. You won't write the letter z. So that you can solve this equation for y, and you'll have y equals some number. And now you put this all together to write the area of the triangle. So the area of the triangle, the base is x plus y along the bottom. The height is z divided by 2. And again, x, y, and z will all be numbers because you've been solving all of your equations in the calculator. So anyway, that's just a couple of things that you can do with trigonometry. You can really dissect and analyze any triangle that you want once you know the Pythagorean theorem and you have some basic trigonometry under your belt. Anyway, hope that helped.